Good morning, everyone. We have looks like beautiful day here again. Like every day, just a beautiful day. Yeah, there is something to it when you have no neighbors in a just about mile and a half circumference. And a half a mile from the county road. So peaceful here. Yeah, we got the roosters going, and there's about 3 of them I noticed coming up. So going into winter time, we'll have about 5 roosters crowing. We got 2. One's the big honcho. There's always one that's dominating all the other ones. Nighttime's really interesting here. Yeah. What sound was that? Yeah, it's interesting. We sit out here, we start looking, either through a book or now you got the internet, you can, okay, what sound is that? Either record it and then they tell you, or you go and okay, it could be an owl. What kind of owl makes that kind of sound? We found that we have a hoot owl here, bearded hoot owl or something, and the male and the female have 2 different hoots going on. So we learned which one was which. Oh, yeah, to me, that's interesting stuff. I've seen one today, this morning. I wanted to just share this little experience somehow. Well, one thing I'd like to say to it all is that I've also read The Divine Principle, written by Sung Myung Moon, inspired by God. Okay, so, and I've read that book 7 times, and I read the most difficult version of it. There are simplified versions, that's the brown book, and the black book is like that. And I like the original stuff. People, sometimes I wonder with poems, if you write a poem, supposedly they're really good poems out there. They've been drafted and revised and edited again by the author until there was just this fantastic poem, right? Does it need all that editing? I wonder if at the moment, a poem to me is a moment, right? A moment in time where the words come together, and some people are so good at this, right? Come together just in this beautiful harmony on one subject or another, or an experience, and does it need editing? Does it need revising? Is it then suddenly, does it become something different than that moment in time, right? Reminds me of one of Whitney Houston's songs. Give me one moment in time. You guys know that song? That's one of my favorites. Well, anyway, so Easter. I grew up in the Catholic Church, so Easter was a big thing. On God's side, not the Easter Bunny. And my mom, again, is always beautiful, this and that. But there's one thing, even as a child, what I did is, that was the time. Now you got to remember again, we didn't have TV and internet like people have now. It was, except for Saturday and Sunday, where the shows would come on a little earlier during the week. There wasn't anything on until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 channels if you had that many. And over Easter, there would be all these movies about Jesus of Nazareth and all that kind of, several of them, different ones, and I had to watch every one of them. I just did. Okay, I was always so attracted to spirit world, Jesus, the life of God, right? Instead of the life of pie. Always, as a child, I was, and being a big book reader as well, I could immerse myself in a book and I wouldn't hear a thing. People could talk to me, just and I couldn't hear it. Yeah, and had a vivid imagination when it came to that. They say that people read a book and they just read through the words and kind of go with the story. Then there's people who read the book and it's also in picture form, right? That's kind of how it was for me. And so I could immerse myself, right? Also not having had the overload of what children have now, every day when it comes to that. I would just immerse myself into the story of Jesus. And when it came around to his death, my heart just, I was bleeding inside. Right? I was just bleeding inside. Right? And of course, in the Catholic Church, you're being taught that, well, there is, Jesus had to die for the sin of the world, the sins of the people. Well, so you went with it, but within myself, there was just always something that didn't like that. Just didn't. There must have been another way. And I would just sit there, often by myself, right? Crying, just crying and sobbing. And I'd had to turn off, couldn't finish watching or had to walk away, to just regain some composure, Anyway, so, and I would do that every year. I would do this to myself. Yeah, then I got busy, and I got married, had children, this, that, Then also I was a teenager, which then you got other things to do than watch Jesus's movies and stuff like that, right? And you get sucked, when you have children, you get sucked into the Easter Bunny stuff, which we had too, by the way, growing up. But my mom just had this amazing, beautiful balance always when it came to things like that. And now that my children all grown up and they do their own thing with their families on Easter, that's been many years now. I celebrate Easter in a very quiet, kind of reflective mode, and again, just, dear me, what have we done? What have we done as mankind, so long ago to the Son of God? Yes. I ended up having to work during Easter time. It was Friday, Good Friday. In Switzerland, it's called Karfreitag. And I remember standing in front of there was a meat packer, wrapping meat in a small in a little store with their own meat department. And the way I wrapped meat, just to make it a little more interesting as well, I guess. It's kind of a boring job. Have to pay attention though. I'd always kind of blessed the meat because I knew this meat's probably, were these animals raised? So I tried to, with what the meat came with, kind of the negative. I tried to bless the meat so it would be nourishing to the people who bought it. That's just me. And so it was Good Friday, and I was packing up the meat, and the pain of it all just hit me again, just standing there. And I wanted to so embrace my brother Jesus for that. And I stood there and I felt this warmth. It's cold in the meat room, okay? It's quite cold in there. I felt this warmth just enveloping me, and just like I got a hug from behind. Like, thank you. I know. just like that. Wasn't the only moment I've ever felt that way, by the way. By now, it's like I feel the embrace of God every day. It's just, it becomes a part of your heart and mind, right? And you just never forget it. I can't really say that I walk through my day without most of it always having my heavenly parent on my mind, right? About something. And really have, I guess it's a practice kind of thing, or maybe just because I started sharing about things, or, really reading the divine principle and making conditions for this and for that, and I don't know what. It just kind of becomes a part of your daily life, right? Yes? Well, and like coffee. Yeah. I thought I'd share that before I start. Well, anywho, let's get going. Christmas coming up. I love Christmas. I really do. I've always loved Christmas. Christmas to me is this magical time. And I never knew how many people are so unhappy around Christmas time. I think it's too because around Christmas time, as I said, there is this magic in the air, that just absolute excitement towards this day of fulfilling wishes and presents, and the children are also in a state of excitement, right? Yes, the adults kind of are in a state of stress, but that's our own fault, right? But this extreme positive energy in a way around that time is affecting some really badly in the negative. Because in their own life, they're not finding that excitement, right? Yes. I thought when I first kind of read up on things like that and heard the stories, and it was again, oh, so sad. But I understand it, but it's so sad, right? Yes. Hey, you guys. Anywho, so what does one do? Again, I don't mind spending Christmas on my own either. My daughter has taken over now the Christmas Eve fondue tradition in our family. I love it. Of course, I'm not going to go and fight her for it. That'd be stupid. I'm so happy. That's continued on. Yeah. And when I can, I make it to it. I got responsibilities here. When you have all them animals that we have, you can't just leave and be gone for a couple of days, right? And it's a Eve celebration, so who wants to do a 3.5 hour drive home at midnight or something? Well, anyway, I used to do that, but I'm too old for that kind of stuff. So I try to go if I can, if I find someone that's willing to take care of things here. But I'm also just fine being here, and again, just have a very reflective, just wonderful time here, right? I was never a big New Year's Eve going out kind of. Yeah, that's not my thing at all. Again, contemplating a new year is coming, and I'd rather spend it with God. Anyway, so there it is. So we're in Genesis 30. Jacob's. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's still on Jacob's children, which we read a part of it yesterday. Now we're in Genesis 30. Rachel, seeing that she herself gave Jacob no children, became jealous of her sister. Yeah, that probably started, well, I don't know. I mean, okay, all right. Well, there you go, right? And she said to Jacob, "Give me children, or I shall die." Oh. That's an odd one. This made Jacob angry with Rachel, and he retorted, Am I in the position of God who has denied you motherhood? So she said, Here is my slave girl, Bilhah. Oh, that's why they had to mention the slave girls. Oh, God. Oh, same as, oh, well, didn't we, man, everything's repeating itself here. Sleep with her and let her give birth on my knees. Through her, then I too shall have children. So she gave him her slave girl Bilhah as a concubine. Oh, and Jacob slept with her. That was our donkey saying, oh my gosh, yeah. And Bilhah conceived and gave birth to a son by Jacob. Then Rachel said, God has done me justice. Yes, he has heard my prayer and given me a son. Accordingly, she named him Dan. Dan? Wow, Dan, Daniel, Daniela, that's an old name. Dan. Maybe it's Dawn. Maybe it means something different, actually, than the whole name. Again, Rachel's slave girl Bilhah conceived and gave birth to a second son by Jacob. Then Rachel said, I have fought a faithful battle with my sister, and I have won. She named him Naphtali. Hmm? It gets better. Now Leah, seeing that she had ceased to bear children, took her slave girl Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as concubine. So Leah's slave girl Zilpah gave birth to a son by Jacob. Telling you, it's a brothel. Then Leah exclaimed, What good fortune! So she named him Gad. Gad. Leah's slave girl Zilpah gave birth to a second son by Jacob. Then Leah said, What blessedness! Women will call me blessed. So she named him Asher. Are you guys getting this? No? What a fight there must have been. So now Leah also has two children by a slave girl by her husband. So now poor Rachel is again, poor Rachel. Well, dear me, as I said, is this the right way to go? Is this it? Huh? I saw a comment on one of my other ones where someone said, well, it's the men who have been, manipulated, I guess, by the women. Really? I don't know. I guess, well, I could say something to all this, but I'm going to leave it out. It's not really, one either gets this or one doesn't. It's, again, it's just the consequences of having more than one wife, regardless if she can have children or not. Is for a man is something that the men really are going to have to just come to terms with and realize. Right? So, what as a man, where do I stand in the grace of God by having a wife? Right? Regardless, through thick and thin, health and sickness, and so on, rich or poor, right? And so on and so on. I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, so one day at the time of the wheat harvest, Reuben found some mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, Please give me some of your son's mandrakes. Leah replied, Is it not enough to have taken my husband without your taking my son's mandrakes as well? Ooh. So Rachel said, Very well, he can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes. Oh, what has happened here? Ah, So, oh, Rachel had the strings in her hands to decide who sleeps with her husband. Oh, poor Jacob had no say at all. Well, I guess he was all right with that. My gosh, this is just insane. When Jacob came back from the fields that night, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come to me, for I have hired you at the price of my son's mandrakes." So he slept with her that night. God heard Leah, and she conceived and gave birth to a fifth son by Jacob. Then Leah said, "God has given me my reward for giving my slave girl to my husband." Wow, God was good, man. Look, sounds to me like they're making God into the brothel father here, right? Don't they have brothel mothers or something in them places, right? The mother hen of all the girls to be handed out to the guys. Sounds like here in the Bible they're making God into a brothel father. Oh yeah, because oh my gosh, really? I mean, you almost have to take that on the comical, humorous side, or you're gonna just cry over it all. How did they? How did they perceive God when it came to all of that? It's just like okay, I'm not even. That's almost like did pornography come into being right then and there or something like that? I mean, this is like. So she named him Issachar. Issachar. Again, Leah conceived. Oh, and then she got to sleep with him some more. Again, I thought she was not couldn't have children anymore. What happened to that? Oh, 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 oh. Maybe she could still have children, but was banned from the bedroom. God Almighty. Again, Leah conceived and gave birth to a sixth son by Jacob, and said, "God has given me a fine gift. Now my husband will bring me presents, for I have borne him 6 sons." So she named him Zebulun. Later she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Well, and so it went on and on and on and on. Huh, interesting. Also, there's very little talk about love anymore, huh? Rachel was willing to. Oh, yeah, you go ahead and sleep with my husband. Just, I want some of that mandrake. Oh my gosh. Ugh, oh, all right. Then God remembered Rachel. He heard her and opened her womb. Oh, dear me. She conceived and gave birth to a son and said, "God has taken away my disgrace." She named him Joseph, saying, "May Yahweh and another son add another son for me." Oh, all of that to get all the way to Joseph, huh? Well, anyway, I think we know how that's going to go. It is just, how Jacob became rich. When Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Release me and let me go home to my own country. Give me my wives for whom I have worked for you and my children, and let me go. You are well aware how long I have worked for you." Laban replied, "If I have done what pleases you, I have learned by divination that Yahweh has blessed me because of you." Wow. Well then, maybe it wasn't that God who blessed him. But all right, all right. "So name your wages," he added, "and I will pay." He just said what he wanted. He replied, "You know how hard I have worked for you and how your stock has fared in my charge. The little you had before I came has increased enormously, and Yahweh has blessed you wherever I have been. When am I to provide for my own household too?" Laban said, "How much am I to pay you?" Again, you have to ask again. So Jacob first lays out, well, let's be clear about how much I actually deserve. Okay. Jacob replied, you need to pay me anything. Oh, you need not pay me anything. I shall change my mind and go on tending your flock if you do this one thing for me. Oh? Ah. It's interesting on how they kind of, I guess that's the way they talk to each other at the time. I'm not quite getting this. Why doesn't he just tell him what he wants? Go through your entire flock today and remove every black animal among the sheep and every speckled or spotted one among the goats. There will be my wages, and my uprightness will answer for me later when you come to check my wages. Every goat I have that is not speckled or spotted, and every sheep that is not black, will count as stolen by me. Laban replied, where's the trust between these guys? Good, just as you say. That same day he removed the striped and speckled he-goats and all the spotted and speckled she-goats, every one that had white on it, and all the black sheep, and entrusted these to his sons. Then he put a 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob grazed the rest of Laban's flock. Did you guys just get this? We're starting to kind of realize why the 10 Commandments all were needed, right? Jacob then got fresh shoots from poplar, almond, and plant trees and peeled them in white strips, laying bare the white part of the shoots. He set up the shoots he had peeled in front of the animals in the troughs, in the water holes where the animals came to drink. Since they made it when they came to drink, the goats thus made it in front of the shoots, and so the goats produced striped, spotted, and speckled young. The ewes, on the other hand, Jacob kept apart and made these face whatever was striped or black in Laban's flock. Thus he built up droves of his own, which he did not put with Laban's flocks. Yeah, they both had a plan. Oh my gosh. Furthermore, whenever the sturdier animals were mating, Jacob put the chutes where the animals could see them in the troughs, so that they would mate in front of the chutes. But when the animals were feeble, he did not put them there. So Laban got the feeble and Jacob the sturdy. Thus the man grew extremely rich and came to own large flocks, men and women slaves, camels and donkeys. That's the end of the very disturbing chapter 30 in Genesis. Well, there was one thing my mom taught me as well growing up. You never give the least of what you have. You always give the best. Well, anywho, I guess some people have come a long way when it comes to all this. The reason I mentioned that I've also read the Divine Principle many times, it gives me a little bit of a different way of reading the Bible now, right? Yes? What is actually God's will, God's point of view, right? For all of us. And how do we bring joy to God? Purpose of life? is to bring God joy. Every day, not just here and there. I'm not sure if this chapter 30 of Genesis brought God joy, though he was definitely declared something disturbing. But anyway, so it is. I'm not sure why she wanted that mandrake. I'd have to go and read up on it. I do know that if, as a woman, you have a bit of a hard time conceiving, maybe had some miscarriages, this and that, but there's really nothing wrong. You should be able to have a child. Then raspberry leaf tea is a good one. Somehow, I don't know, how did they say it? Open up the womb of a woman. Sometimes it's something that that woman eats or this, and suddenly things kind of even out in the system, right? And the child can't be conceived, even though, right, beforehand. So the mandrake thing, seems like after that, suddenly Rachel was able to conceive. I don't know. I have to go read up on what that actually is all for. Mandrake. Anywho, so there it is. Well, with the raspberry leaf tea, do I know it's true? Yes, I do. I have my own experience. It's not myself, but with someone else. A young couple, and I just happened to have some. I said, here, she was pregnant within a couple of months, 3 months. Anywho. So there it is. But, again, did God really say yes and amen to all this? What them people did to each other or for each other? Or dealing and wheeling and I don't know what? Huh? Oh, yeah. What else? What is such a gambling? Gambling, for what? It's like, anywho. Hey, I said, one could cry through the whole Bible, or one just kind of looks at it and goes, okay. And then, as I said, knowing the divine principle as well, I know how God created the earth, the plants, the animals, the habitat of mankind. I also know how he created mankind. Just saying. One kind of, sometimes you have to go all the way back to the back, say, let me read this one more time so I stay focused on what actually the right thing is. Right? Yes? Here comes Gus. Gus says, thank you for breakfast. You have something to say? Huh? He's getting bigger and bigger. He's huge. Yeah? Yes, he's almost. Maybe he is the height of our donkey out there. Yes? Well, that's what I wanted to share this morning. A beautiful sunny day. Look, see the sun? Ugh, he's so wet. He's so wet. Good boy. God's love and blessings always. Yes. May he protect you. Yes. And I will talk to you all another time.